really can't tell. Oh, no. I said, no, that's not.
So, anyway, they stopped coming at 8 o'clock and turned all the lights off, and I said, nobody was coming. Well, you know,
every time I've sat out there, I started like 6 in the evening and stayed outside till like 8:30. And no, I didn't want one kid or maybe 2 kids. And I'm sitting there going down the one street there, like, flash,
He was because he doesn't want to truck on that fast.
Pickup trucks have nothing in the bed.
That's the worst Hey, Dale.
Yeah.
Oh, really? That's what we need. Can you give me that?
Oh, you got that. Yes, so did Gloria. And I had my radar gun out yesterday.
I told him to do like it looks like it's easy. You know, you got down in my corner
so we had a mess with all that dust.
Peanut gallery.
Peanut gallery.
Right.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. If I can have your attention, please. If you would, we'd like to call this meeting to order of the Big Plains Water and Sewer Special Service District. If you'd stand, we'll pledge allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, roll call.
Ross Ferguson present.
Neil Duncan present.
Harold Mayer present.
Marty Rosenby present.
Andy Bass present.
Okay, thank you. Welcome everybody here. First item, second item, Jerry Eves, would you care to address us?
I just, back here for the letter, you wanted to have time to review some documentations and stuff, so I'm just here to get the water bank agreement signed and get the other signatures on it and move it along.
Okay, I talked to Rod Mills about it. He was good with the agreement, memorandum of understanding with Access and with Cedar Point. Did anybody have any questions?
I have a question. When we originally agreed to this buying your water company net, we bought all the water and put it in the bank, correct?
Incorrect.
Okay, then what you sold us was minus these 822 shares of water?
Yes.
That's not stated in the original agreement.
The amount of water is stated, and it's broke down on it. And I don't know if you have it, but there was a cost breakdown of the purchase and the water that was sold with it. Cedar Point and Apple Valley sold enough water, plus, in my case, an additional 50 acre-feet of water to service the existing residents. The rest of the water was moved into the water bank as proposed. It was not paid for.
No. Oh, I know when paper was all went into the bank.
Yes.
And as it was being developed, then it would come out of the bank and go to the,
Oh, yes, that's exactly right.
so now we're saying we're just gonna turn all this water back over to these people.
What you're doing is, the water bank was never, this agreement was supposed to have been signed at the time that the water purchase went in. It was neglected and not signed. What this does is it allocates the water as it was intended to at that time at the closing.
Yeah, the one thing that we asked for in the last meeting was a copy of that agreement, and we're kind of new on it. You guys have been around a lot longer than we have on some of this. Some of these guys are gonna remember it, but, we asked for a copy of that agreement. We haven't been provided that yet.
Well, all of my documentation was with you and with your attorney. It is basically this same agreement, other than it has that
I think Denny and I
attachment.
voiced that we wanted to see that, document, a month ago at their last meeting, and we haven't, been given that at all.
As I recall, you wanted time to review the purchase of,
The original
document.
agreement.
Right, we just wanted to.
So what I'm
so we
saying
know
is
what we're doing, that's all.
They were provided to the
Oh,
town.
no, I'm not expecting you to provide it.
Yeah, you
I was
got
just telling
those.
it that we had asked Harold for it, and, is it saying in our last meeting, we wanted to get a copy of it, and. we
And
wanted-
actually, I think they were all
That's all.
held by the city attorney,
Gary,
Coleman.
Oh, yeah. Be hard getting hold of him.
Yeah. So where they went from that office, I don't have a clue.
Then you should have had a copy of it.
Pardon?
You should have a copy of it.
When
Well,
the
yeah, but I wouldn't expect him to provide us a copy of what we probably already have. I just, we made a couple inquiries on it, and just, we never had it received. That's all I'm stating. I'm not trying to.
The water agreement, though, as per form and function, is what it's in before you now.
the agreement, as I understand it, is that Access Funding wants to put water in the water bank. And then,
Go ahead.
well,
All the water right now is in the water bank, and it's allocated to use. What this does is it allows us access to move that water
Sure.
out of the water bank. If we want to drill a well somewhere, or someone wants to personally own water rights, we can sell those and move them out of the water bank to those individuals.
I'm trying to think, how does that benefit us?
It won't, that part won't benefit you,
Not a penny.
other than some,
When we're trying to not drill wells?
other than when you do a point of diversion change for these individuals. I'm sure that you'll make one of the requirements of the service district that it's open for, metered and open for monthly inspection, and they'll pay a water bill. Not a water bill, an inspection fee monthly.
one thing we are looking into, and this wouldn't go any further than if we agree to it tonight, that water is in there and it's available to be taken out. It'd be a service provided by the district. But should somebody drill a well and they decide to do more than one residence, then they would have to have the service district involved in it. At that point, we would take over that particular well, like we did Canaan and Cedar Point and so on, and bring it into the service district. So this is a long process, and then it would be checked by the state as far as purity and clarity, and they'll be more up on that. So all this does is say that The water is in the water bank and it can be taken out to another point of conversion, which is, it can be put in a house, or it can be put in another well, or it can do whatever. Another thing that's a big issue here is that we've spent a considerable amount of money in legal fees with Axis, trying to get their money out. And this is an agreement that, if I'm not wrong, Craig Smith was heavily involved in.
Correct.
So Craig Smith, the lawyer that Sean Guzman recommended and set us up with, said this is the easiest way to prevent a major lawsuit, which he said this agreement is the agreement that he would think that we should go with. We just store the water.
So Sean's already
Yes.
Okay.
So we store the water. We're not saying what we're gonna really do with it or the point of diversions or anything else. We're just saying it's here, right?
That's correct.
Okay.
So, and then the next step would be, that's when it gets sticky. What are we gonna do with it? But at least we've got it.
Well, and before it leaves, that's when you say sticky. I just say, that's when you're notified, which is what needs to happen. That way basically we're taking this water out. If it's a point of diversion like we talked about down in the lower gap area that's going to be used for irrigation, then I would expect that would be metered and monitored monthly.
Right, we have an inquiry in now as to how we go about expanding the service district to accommodate that.
Got it.
And so if we run into some issues there, this water is still gonna stay in the service district, but at least this way we know where it's at.
Well, now let me clarify something. This water it'll go to the basin. So if there's some out to Elephant Butte that needs to be moved, if someone wants to do that or has property, but it will stay in the basin. It can't go outside the basin.
Right, just like the rest of it.
Let me ask you, the one red flag that I had on this whole thing is, why in the hell didn't they do this 4 years ago, or 3 years ago, or 2 years ago?
This was probably, and ask Craig Smith, this was probably one of the most complicated water system acquisitions ever. Worse than the one up in Summit County. The reason being is you were dealing with two separate water companies at that time and a whole bunch of different emotions and personalities that it took literally years to get to this point. And then proofing the accesses, the easements, the lines that are in, the water, just all of the system, and then doing transfer of documents. I know that my part of it was about 3.5 hours down at Southern Utah Title.
Our last meeting, to try to get it together, there were either 4 or 5 lawyers in the room with Gary Coleman. And it went on for an eternity. And so this is an example of a loose end that we're trying to tie up and say.
Well, what I was getting at is, I get the sale, and that was complicated, but what I was getting at is that after the sale's completed, because this has been completed how many years now?
We've been working on this document, and because of whatever reason, I don't know why, we've had this basic form in front of the body here, but it never got passed.
That's what this question is, why Rick Moyer didn't sign this off if it was back that.
Well, and it wasn't even Rick, it was more the old city attorney, he had a lot of stuff on his plate, and while he was dealing with that, and I wasn't pressing it, but then Access Funding started putting the heat on about the time Gary went downhill.
Okay, thanks for the reply.
Well, just to clarify, we never bought these shares, you put them in, they're your shares, right?
That's correct, that's per allocated.
Yeah. I mean,
But the reason why they're there is the way the law stipulates on have to improve on those shares every year. And that's why they're in the water bank.
That is the reason, 2 reasons it was put in the water bank. One is that we wanted to protect the asset and let the service district have control. Whereas if it went to a city, as you well know, any time water goes to a city, it can never come out. It's there. So the service district became the holding area and the vehicle we organized to handle the transaction.
And to protect the water.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Anything else, Danny? If there aren't any further questions, I'd make a motion that we accept the memorandum of understanding between Big Plains Water and Sewer Special Service District, Cedar Point Water Company, and Access Funding. Do I have a second?
I second it.
Vote.
Ross Gregerson, aye.
Yield out tonight.
Harold Aaron, aye.
I'm gonna be a nay on that, only because I don't understand the purchase part of that, so I'll be a nay, 'cause you don't need me.
I abstain.
Understand? Okay. I guess it's in there.
Would you be able to sign that and I'll get a certified copy up to the guys to sign it and get it back to you? And do you want to do it today or tomorrow?
Let's do it. We need a copy of this. Why don't we, let me sign it and make some copies and then get this original to you tomorrow.
That'd be fine. I'll check back with you.
Okay.
Thank you, and thank you,
Okay,
gentlemen.
okay, great. Sure. Okay, go on to item number 3, Rich Osowski. Rich?
Right here. 1024 West Little Canyon Way. I'll try to make this short. I got it pretty well wrote down. I'm going to omit some of this since I'm going to give a copy to the board members. This is about policy change of August 1, 18, the impact fee waiver for standby accounts. The waiver is non-transferable to new owners and 4.0 rate changes in fees. When the water main was installed by ex-mayor Moser, he said we had a choice. We could pay the $29 standby fee and return, the ones paying the standby fee would not have to pay an impact fee. This was a great selling feature. His word, paraphrasing, you can pay now or pay the full amount later. It's your choice. No time did he say the fees could not be transferred, or was the amount untrue. Double speak, the ex-mayor said it to get what he wanted. He also gave people a chance to have a water meter installed. I don't remember the length of time he had the water meter program going. The meter program was canceled, and those who chose not to have the meter installed would have to pay the higher fees. I know some of you remember this. I double-checked what was said at those meetings, including the 3 people who attended those meetings regularly. They all agreed the ex-mayor said this. Since one of the 3 is here, you can figure out who the other 2. The questions I have, since the new policy for standby accounts went into effect August 1st, 18, the residents who paid the standby fee should fall under the old policy. Those lots should at least get some kind of credit, unless you're going to retroactive charge the lots that didn't pay the standby fee from the start. The impact waiver presented by ex-mayor was one way to try and win over angry residents who were opposed to the SSD. Now, stopping the waiver and not crediting those lots unless you build has angered some residents who paid all along to the SSD. We feel we are being taken advantage of. Why didn't SSD at least think about the loyal residents who paid the standby fee from the start and will not receive anything? Why did the SAD change the terms of the standby waiver and not allow at least what was paid into to be transferable? And how did the board get into this mess? The SSD should at least credit and allow the standby fee previously paid up to August 18 to be transferable when sold. After August 2018, with the new policy, when the new policy went into effect, all empty lots should start even. Can lot owners terminate our service for standby fee, and would we lose the money that we paid into the SSD? Since there isn't any incentive for lot owners. I'm going to omit a couple other things here to save time. You've got a long meeting. In chapter 4, the policy states all parcels that have a water distribution line bordering their property are required to pay a standby fee. I do not know where all the water lines go, so all the empty parcels paying the standby fee. Here are some empty lots that have a water distribution line bordering their property. All empty lots of Gooseberry, Cedar Point, Desert Rose. All empty lots of the town of Apple Valley. AV 1320 NP, and there's 10 locations here. In closing, I am here for a couple reasons. First of all, to make sure things are fair for all the people who paid the standby fees from the start, as Mayor Moser wanted. There are some of you on the board during Moser's administration and know the way Mayor Moser set up the standby fees. Once again, I will state Mayor Moser stated that you can pay now or you can pay later. It's in the minutes. Employees of the water district that did not attend any meeting should not be saying this is not true. When the water district decided to change the standby policy, those loyal standby payees should have been given more consideration and had a clause in the new policy. That's the extent of it. I don't expect any answers from this, but maybe you could look it over. I've been trying to get a hold, Harold Merritt knows that, I've been trying to get a hold, Tanya knows that, a hold of you guys for over a month. And of course now here I am before you. I've got some pretty upset people that own a number of lots. And they're waiting for for your decision so I can give your decision. I'm sorry they're not here. One is sick, one is this, one is traveling, you know, there's a bunch of excuses. So why don't I just leave this for you? So, Mr. Chairman, can I approach the bench and give you a copy? You know, and I shouldn't say that it is not chairman, that's not political correct now, it's chairperson, right?
Chairperson.
Okay, make sure the minutes are correct.
You're up to speed on everything here, Rich.
I tell you.
Now, our intent, Rich, is not to harm anyone. What I would like to do, since you're passing this out, rather than comment on it, to any great extent, I would like to have,
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I know the mayor and I discussed it briefly, and I think we're on separate pages, but that being said, I would like to have the legal folks look at this and give their thoughts on it.
Because there might be a legal problem with it, the whole, you're exactly right.
And it's an unintended consequence to a great extent that, you know, 6 or 7 years ago when this started and there were 5 houses in the whole town, it sounded like a great idea.
Yeah.
But as time has moved on and things have changed, so if that would be acceptable to you, we'll present this to council, and hopefully within 30 days we'll have some answers for you.
I knew it needed to go to council because I can see where there might be a little bit of issue that needs to be settled.
Yeah, we'll let an outside party decide who's off.
Yeah.
Hopefully it'll work for everybody, but if that'll work for you, that's what we'd like to do, Rich.
Absolutely.
I'd like to comment on that, though.
Okay.
I'd like to make a comment on it. We had a sidebar, and I'll just share with you what our sidebar was prior to the meeting, because I kind of have heard this from other people as well. This is not the only person that's brought this to my attention, and I feel like it's punishing those that have been loyal to paying their $29, even those that paid late and finally did pay their $29. We've spent 10, 15 years collecting this, whatever the time is, collecting this $29 on the premise that they can not have to pay an impact fee. And now when we pass this new thing, if they had known that, they could have opted out 10 years ago and saved all that money. But now all that money's in the till. We've agreed to taking that money. We agreed they don't have to pay an impact fee. And now, when they want to sell that property to someone else, their property's worth about $15,000 less. So they got to pay all that money, and now they get to take a hit on the property value even though they paid all that money. And so it's like getting double billed for something that, you know, with good intentions, that's what they wanted to do up front was, you know, I'll do that because that's gonna save me 12 grand, that's gonna make my, you know, my property worth more money. And now we're jerking that out from under them because we raised our hand and voted on it, and I don't think it's right. I think that, I get why we're doing it, I get that, you know, new development, they gotta pay the impact fees, I have no problem with that at all. If they haven't been paying the impact fee, they gotta pay the impact fee when they decide to go. If they haven't been paying the $20, they gotta pay the impact fee. I have no problem in that. It's just these guys have been paying for 10, 12 years, and now all of a sudden, they wanna sell their lot because it's time. They wanna, you know, go ahead and get rid of it. And now they can take a hit for 15 grand besides all that money they paid. That's not right.
Can I make one more comment? What I'm hearing from the complaints of the residents, and there's about a half a dozen of them, and they were gonna meet at our house, is that we bought that lot for two reasons. The neighbor bought two lots. He wanted a buffer. He never planned on building on that lot, ever. We bought our lot as an investment and a buffer. And when the code changed to where the only people that's gonna get a part of, or all their money back from standby fees is the ones that's gonna build property there. I never intended to build a house. I got a house. The neighbor's got a house. He's not gonna build on his two lots. The Jorgensen's have got two lots. They're not gonna build on their two lots. And Bruce, what's Bruce's last name? Tuttle, well, his wife is sick. He's not gonna build on his two lots. This goes on and on and on. And now I pretty well need to either quit paying or I'm never gonna build on that lot.
Chairman, how many, roughly, any idea how many people we're talking about on this?
106 left.
106 of them?
How many lots opted out?
There's 3 right now.
How many?
I think there's 3 that opted out.
3. Again, we've got a long meeting ahead of us, so we'll let the council kind of sort through it and see what they think of it. But the intent was that when Apple Valley had very few houses, people owned lots, we thought, you know, if we give them a break on an impact fee, they're gonna pay the $29 because we needed to generate cash flow. And there was no incentive for them to pay $29 if there wasn't something in it for them. So thus we said, you can have the impact fee if you'll make the payment, thinking those people would build on their lots. Granted, it's obvious at this point if we would have injected the thought they're non-transferable in the original thing, it would have solved a lot of issues, but it didn't happen. So we'll take this and see where it goes, but it's been in effect about 6 years. The most anybody could have paid in would have been about $1,800.
We're at 13.
What?
We're at 13.
And Bruce has two lots.
So anyway, we'll get back with you, Rich, and
Okay,
appreciate you
thanks.
putting it in writing so we know where we're at.
I appreciate
Okay,
it.
and thank you, Mayor, for your
I was gonna say, if the dollars are that low, you know, we could at least give them a discount of that much money off of it, so at least they're not throwing their money away, so.
the money travels with the land.
Yeah, well, I was just saying, it's, you know, there may be an alternative that, you know, is a happy medium or something, that's all. So,
Can
we can talk about it
I
another
just
time.
make a point really quick on this? Is that, I look at it this way, when this thing got put in place, is $29 a month. And if I had vacant land that I had out here, the light went on in my head, it's $29 a month. Boy, I would come to the district like right now and get a $29 connection made. So if you look at this as it goes down the road, so that no one's paying this $29, I would have essentially made $12,000 off of the backs of the citizens and off of the district is what I would have turned around and made that profit with. So in short, for me, the way I look at this is that we're expecting all of our consumers to pay this $12,000 to somebody who's maybe only paid in for a year.
you should pass it on to the citizens that are already here, but new folks that come in, why should everybody else have to now pay essentially $12,000 because you've given this $12,000? It'd take you 45 years to come up with that impact fee. So it actually is a cost to the community for someone to just to turn around and do that, because now the district has essentially got a cough up $12,000 when maybe somebody's only paid in for 6 months.
Well, Dale, we,
Okay, sorry.
we'll leave it up to the powers that be and see where it goes. The original intent was good, but anyway, it's really tripping out. Rod Mills is not in town and won't be here this evening, so we don't have any engineering report. Now it's your turn, Dale.
Sorry. Got blue stakes set up. I'm just going through the mapping. I was gonna have Rod send a GIS, but it would have covered a whole bunch of area that every time that somebody wanted to do something on the outskirts of town along 59, that we were gonna get a blue stakes for the gas line and all of that type of stuff. So I'm just going through them with setting up that program. I got our flushing program started for Cedar Point and for Canaan. Been doing some heavy root removal on the upper spring over in Canaan. Got Linda Murphy installed. Soft starts hung. Ross and I just got to get over and wire it in. All my year-end sample bottles are ordered. We're on a different sample schedule for 59 because we had some, as we knew when we did that sampling, we were going to have some aesthetic problems. So I've got some quarterly samples that I've got to do for those, just like I did with these other samples. As long as we come in underneath the standards for a year, those will turn to 3 years, in some cases 6-year samples, but I'll have a whole bank of those. I've got about 25 bottles that I'm going to have to fill. We installed 3 meters this past month. Bacteriological sampling side has been started for 270 for Cedar Point and for Canaan. I've just got one more CEU to do, and then my licenses are okay. Just been doing the training on that. Got the little thrust block tubes poured for 59. Had a water break in Canaan, had to shut the water down, had a customer pull his service out. Got him fixed and had the water was off for maybe like an hour over in Canaan. I've got a fire hydrant bonnet that I need to fix over in Canaan on the intersection of Shiloh and Canaan that doesn't work. We've got 2 mainline extensions that are in the works. The one's for Tony Shapley. He's got to get us drawings and whatnot, and then the guy Cliff on Steve Ward's property. That's who I met with this afternoon, was their engineer. And then lead and copper sample plans are both started for Cedar Point and Canaan.
How about, speaking of mainline extensions, Crawford, has he been?
No, in fact, I seen Bruce the other day that lives up in Ralph Eastman's old place, and he said he'd just seen Crawford and he was redoing his no trespassing signs, but he looked like he was just walking his property out there, but I personally haven't seen Rick.
He hasn't called back.
No. But Bruce said he's seen him out there walking on the property.
I have had a chance to get, how is our excavation after the storms?
Fantastic. Nothing has moved, nothing even ran.
Cool.
We had a little bit in the trough, but other than that, we didn't even have streaks coming off the side back where all the screes at, so it's working like a champ. Yeah.
And do we know, have we received the bill from the?
Yes.
Have we? Okay.
Yeah, it was $3,500.
Oh, cool.
Wow, that's a rip.